women's cricket semifinal match that was hosted in India that I think 10x people watched.
10x. Women's cricket semifinal. 10x.
10x.
The World Series.
Yes, where India beat Australia, who had never lost before. And the star of the game for India, where cricket's massive, but we all know the spiritual landscape of India. She knew Jesus. She knows Jesus. And she grew up in a household learning about faith, and she took her moment and proclaimed Christ after that game first and foremost.
I'm grateful to Jesus because just his presence and reading the Bible just has encouraged me in my tough times.
We don't know what the consequences are.
There was backlash from that.
There was backlash, and there will be ongoing backlash. And if it's like other stories where we've watched athletes say, you know what, I think it's my moment to say, potentially to surrender my career as a result, but Jesus is more important than my career.
Bold visionaries, faithful disruptors. Some call them crazy, but they are called to create. Under his power, for his glory. The Faith Driven Entrepreneur Podcast.
Welcome back to the Faith Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. I know many of you guys love sports like I do, and many of us, we love even more what God is doing through sports. And we've become dialed into that in the past years. We've seen press conferences and post-game interviews ending with people sharing their story of grace and what God has done in their lives. Many of us might think that this is a moment, but really what this is has been a movement. It's been something that's been building up for years, if not decades. And it's because of faithful leaders that are discipling this community and saying, what does it look like for peers to come together? They understand the unique opportunities and the unique challenges. And today, we're with the friends from Professional Athletes Outreach and the incredible work that Steve and Lori Stenstrom are doing here, and friends like Todd Peterson, to really come alongside this community and shepherd and encourage them to be bold in this moment. There's so many parallels to the platforms that entrepreneurs and athletes have. We're given this for a short season to steward, and God calls us to make the most of them. So today's gonna be a fun conversation of hearing the similarities of opportunities that we have in that. But before we get started, let's watch this incredible story that our team put together, spotlighting the amazing work that God is doing in this moment, in this season, through sports. Let's go ahead and get started.
And for a professional athlete today, there's so many ways in which their lives are on display.
Here to comment is Caitlin Clark. Flag. One last thing.
Sports has infiltrated our society to the point that there's very little things that have been left untouched by athletics.
Estimated to be worth $2.65 trillion. The global sports industry is a massive market. Hundreds of millions of eyeballs intake sports and sports-related content weekly.
Sports is one of the universal languages that there is on this planet.
Pro sports is a culture shaper.
It's so powerful. We know kids love sports.
One of the best memories of my childhood, having those people to look up to and want to be like one day.
That's an amazing platform and ability to infiltrate into the world.
I just think that their influence is, the sky's the limit.
It's a door opener of no other comparison.
Athletes being able to use their voice.
When something is live, you don't know what they're going to say.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
First time on TV.
She is just like my hair, a mess.
The job is done, we can go home now.
Clearly!
I think there's no doubt the opportunities for tremendous impact and positive impact.
For me to climb back up, I had to dive into the Word.
I have to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
My Christian faith plays a role in everything that I do.
One thing that I like to do in the quarterback room is write a scripture that spoke to me for the week.
And from a spiritual perspective, the greatest ROI potential on the planet right now, I'd make a strong case that you want to have some in your portfolio that represents pro athletes being reached with the gospel today.
Many guys and gals who enter into pro sports become isolated because it's hard for them to experience authentic relationships.
Yeah, I think as an athlete, you always feel like somebody's selling you something or there's an ulterior motive.
I think there's a natural belief that no one really gets me. They want something from me.
They're given a lot of money and a lot of influence, and that can go one of two ways.
Unfortunately, we've seen families fall apart. We've seen marriages fall apart because people feel isolated and alone. They don't know where to turn.
I think the statistics are 70% of athletes are bankrupt, addicted to a substance, or divorced within 3 years of retiring from a sport. But the message of hope is that surrounded by the right people, the ability they have to change the world is amazing. The fans will listen. And they listen to everything that comes out of their mouths, and there's so much hope that can be given. It's a platform, and it's huge.
So much of what we do as NFL players is we get trained. Like, you walk into a weight room, there's a workout on the board that 5 coaches stayed up all night thinking about, okay, how are we gonna train this guy to be his best? There's really nothing for, like, your soul.
You're sort of in the fishbowl all the time. And you've got to always be aware of, where can I find places to go be authentic?
Thankfully, our first year in marriage, somebody caught us right away and said, oh, you should go to this conference. It's called Pro Athletes Outreach. We were like, all right, well, let's go. Let's see what this is all about. We were discipled. We were taught the basics. We were taught the foundations of the faith.
What I have seen the most powerful impact of PAO being is this pro-to-pro vulnerability.
And I think here at PAO, you learn what it looks like to be a surrendered disciple of Jesus. They give you the practical tools to do that, and they give you the community to do that. And God has honored the faithfulness of this ministry over the last 55 years.
It blew me away. It was incredible to see athletes, many of whom you would know, faces you would recognize, in this giant ballroom, raising their hands, praising Jesus, listening to some amazing teachings.
I think this community is authentic. I think from the leadership from Steve and Lori, like, you can't fake that. Over time, you would see true colors, right? And their true colors are real.
Pros tend to feel comfortable in one of two different places. They feel very, very comfortable in the locker room or clubhouse, and they feel very comfortable in the stadium. I mean, our ministry at Pro Athletes Outreach, we start with community. We really work hard to recreate that locker room or that clubhouse environment. We want to say, hey, come, you're going to be amongst peers. We oftentimes will say it's a pro-to-pro ministry model. Our mission statement says that we exist to unite a community of pros and couples to do two things: grow as disciples of Jesus and make a positive kingdom impact on our potential spheres of influence.
The only reason why I came is because Adam Wainwright literally dragged me here, dude. He was calling me every day. That year, I only came so I can get him on my back. And I said, okay, he paid for the conference for me. He bought my plane ticket, and he's calling me all the time. And he's also he's the best pitcher in the team, and I mean, whatever. So I'm a people pleaser, so I only came for that reason. I was like, what am I doing here? Until the last day.
Whew, gives me the chills.
The last day, who's one of my favorite people in the world now, Francis Chan, got up there. And he just got out there and he was on his knees and praying, and all of a sudden I just felt something in my heart, dude, that I've never felt before. And it was the Holy Spirit calling me.
An athlete community has influence, right? And the world listens to athletes. They have a platform that's really powerful. And so we really encourage them to lean into that.
I think the narrative's changing a lot. Like when Matt played a long time ago, there was this myth that a Christian athlete is soft. And then, like, my son is in a position right now where absolutely confident talking about his faith. But I think a lot of that has to do with, like, the Ben Watsons, the Matt Fortes, the Matt Hollidays, Adam Wainwright, Albert Pujols, like some of these players that have gone before him and gave them confidence to stand for Jesus and what they believe in.
There's certainly a move happening in sports culture. Sports ministry outlets are serving, from young to old, athletes who say, yeah, I'd like to tell you what I care most about, and that's my faith.
You think about the life of a professional athlete. You've been playing like since you were 6, 7, 8 years old. So people can find their identity in it. And we see numerous amounts of examples of athletes that struggle with transitioning because football has become the end-all be-all for them.
I remember very early in my career, there was a pro sports chaplain who asked me who I was. And I told him my name. And he looked at me like, wrong answer. He says, don't ever forget who you are, you're a child of God.
I think for many of us, we root ourselves in our job, or the labels, the hats that we wear within our families or in our communities. And not all those things are bad things, but if they become the ultimate thing, they're bound to disappoint.
But I think once you have a solid identity and you're seeing yourself and accepting yourself the way God sees you, and you're fully loved and you're abiding and rooted and grounded in perfect love, I think the secret to that is just once you taste and see what it's like to become alive in Christ, then there's no going back.
I think you get into athletics because it's something that you've done your whole life growing up and you're passionate about, and you think you're playing a game. But if you get surrounded by the right people and the right counselors, the right mentors, where you realize this is so much bigger than just me. This is so much bigger than just the game. I have a chance to be an entrepreneur, to invest in things that matter for eternity. I have a chance to make a difference in the world. When you see the light bulb go on with an athlete, when that happens, it's probably my favorite part of this role.
Man, this career is short. You know, NFL, it stands for not for long. But if you do it well, it will set you up for a platform that can have a lifetime of ministry.
We've really leaned into helping the transition from the game, but finding your passion besides the baseball bat or the football, and helping them figure out what it is that their heart breaks for. When the transition comes out of the game, they're already well on their way to the thing that, you know, arguably could matter even more.
When you ask him those dangerous questions of, you know, break my heart for what breaks yours, and I want to do your will, be ready, because he's going to send you an opportunity.
And so the community around us is what is making it possible for us to see this next chapter as a real opportunity to serve the Lord in new and exciting ways.
I think that athletes for a long time struggled getting involved. I do think that one of the great things that PAO has done is it's really unselfishly opened players' eyes to the world around us. Issues or organizations or charities that are solving problems that break God's heart.
As our men and women are formed and shaped in the image of God and he begins to deploy his people out, well, that's going to require lots of opportunities all over the place and lots of others who share those same passions and have unique giftings. And so we need to find collaborative environments where that makes sense and come around a table together and say, okay, let's just consider what God might be doing by bringing us together here to accomplish something much bigger than either one of us could.
What brings an entrepreneur and an athlete together? We're all problem solvers. And there's a lot of things that come at you when you're a pro athlete that you have to solve.
People are coming to a table together to solve some of the world's great problems. But I think today we are seeing a resurgence of builders and investors and givers and entrepreneurs and pastors and also athletes saying, how do I find the authentic thing that I want to be about solving together with others?
And you know, that's God's plan for his people, right? We're supposed to work together. Many members, one body, complementary parts. Together we can achieve way more than we can independently or alone.
We're in early stages of seeing the potential for sports making an impact globally. I mean, if you really look back in terms of intentional sports ministry, we're 70 years in. We lose sight of that in our own culture here, where every high school or college or team has a chaplain or multiple ministries, and actually ministries overlapping and duplicating in places. That's not true in the rest of the world at all.
500 million people belong to a soccer club. 567,000 professional soccer players, yet only 950 believers. The access is huge.
If you took professional soccer and you looked at it like in a missional sense, the unreached element in pro soccer would come in behind Somalia as far as an unreached part of the world.
And so to me, sports is is the perfect place in terms of ministry to be able to reach people for the gospel, but also to be able to have these players recognize the platforms that they have to be able to share the gospel and really, I don't know, make a dent in a way that they might not be able to make in a lot of other areas.
And that's what at PAO we're really excited about right now. There's 13 major sports we're focused on. We only serve 3 of them currently. And that we've got to start analyzing and looking at, okay, how do we reach and serve and establish communities of faith amongst those 10 sports? And we've set a goal that by LA 2028, we're going to have made a lot of progress toward those 10 other sports, because all 10 of those sports are going to be competing in this next Olympic cycle. And so we want to see what, Lord, and we're praying, Lord, what will you do to help us reach those people? And what we're finding is that the doors are opening and God's raising up men and women who are called to serve in those sports, just like we've served the 3 that we're currently in, football, baseball, and hockey. I mean, I don't think we're even scratching the surface of where this is going to go. We're going to see pro sports penetrated in the next 5, 10, 15 years like we haven't even begun to experience yet.
Such a powerful story, Steve. It's a treat for us, like as a video team, to come in and to really capture like decades of faithfulness and decades of work. That's just a fun experience. Thanks for letting us do that.
Well, love that it happened. Love that after 55 years, the PAO story is becoming one that can potentially serve the greater kingdom purposes out there.
Yeah. I think most people, I mean, we know that God's doing something here in sports. I think what's encouraging to me is to share that story, is to say, hey, underneath it, this isn't the only community. There's churches, there's other places that all these athletes are connected to, but there's a level of intentionality that, as you said, that's been brewing for a very long time. I think sometimes people look at something on live TV and they think, oh, that just happened. But there is a lot of things that leads up to those moments. Can you just talk about what you're seeing that's happening in this moment in sports ministry?
Well, I think if we're going to be like Scripture talks about the people of Issachar, men of Issachar who understood their times and knew what to do. I mean, if we look around today, sport has always been a place of worship in the world. I mean, people have gathered. You go to Rome and you get in the Colosseum, you'll be reminded that people have gathered around sport for centuries. But the way that happens today, the number of people that gather and celebrate sport and listen in a way to sport is staggering to think about. So, it's beautiful when God unleashes his people in those contexts who are ready to talk about him and ready to articulate what it means to live for what is true, live for what matters, live for the most important things in this life. So to share the most important thing to them. And so we love at Pro Athletes Outreach when we get a chance to work with a couple, work with an athlete who performs on the biggest stage possible in the world. And when the lights come on and the camera's on and rolling and they profess Christ, it's authentic, it's real, it's been rooted in great discipleship. And so that's been the focus for all these years and these decades has been to equip the men and women that we were privileged to serve, to say, yeah, this is what I mean, and this is what I stand for.
I think one of the encouraging things for me over the years is like, everybody has this like 30 seconds. Like you never know what's going to happen on live TV, right? And at first, maybe there's, times where people would cut something short, but now it's like, it feels like people are giving them space to share their story. Like in a press conference, it feels like now it's become like, hey, that's their time and that's their chance to share. But what's also so encouraging is like so much of these athletes, like speak into just like the depth of discipleship, because I think people in a soundbite culture, we look at those 30 seconds, we're like, yeah, okay, John 3:16 or whatever it might be, but how deep is it? And I'm struck by the intentionality of discipleship and depth that you're seeing in the community.
I'm thrilled by it. I mean, I think we're living in a moment. I mean, I think that's what you're touching on, is that there's a moment in the world today. I mean, this is a global moment too. It's certainly true here in the U.S., but we're seeing it all across the globe, where men and women who love Jesus, it's almost like something straight out of Matthew 7 and the Sermon on the Mount, where like all the other foundations that people tried to build on have been shown to be and exposed for what they were, and they've been washed away. And people are asking authentic questions. So who's going to speak to that? Well, certainly if people are gathering in churches, then we're hopeful that the pastors and those leaders will continue doing what they've done for centuries.
Yeah.
We're grateful for them. But there's a lot of people that are opening their ears, hearts, and minds to the message of truth and asking authentic questions. And so we've been excited to see a community of pros and couples who are ready, and to your point, have been pursuing Christ authentically themselves, and they're his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do the good works he's prepared in advance for them to walk into. And part of that is opening their mouth and just articulating in a beautiful way the same sound theological underpinnings of the faith that we've been getting in churches for those who gather there.
Yeah. I think one of the things when we talk about faith-driven entrepreneurs, like there's this moment, like there's this conversation where you talk about like faith and work, and it's broader and it's bigger. But then when you talk to an entrepreneur, there's something that an entrepreneur just walks into a room, hears somebody talk for about 10 seconds, and they're like, man, you get me. You get me in a way that maybe I don't feel at home, that I haven't felt at church, that I don't even feel in the office. And I think that there's something in this pro-to-pro side of things that maybe people don't see it at first, but just speak to how unique that is and how innovative just the pro-to-pro side of things is.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think we all love to belong, and when you feel like you belong somewhere, you actually are the more real version of yourself, no matter where you are on the faith spectrum. And so when you can set the table, you can open up a room full of peers together, it's like it accelerates the conversation forward so quickly. And the guards come down, the questions don't matter as much. It's like, why am I here? Because you sense that you belong there. So whether it's an entrepreneur or a pro athlete, we've experienced the same thing, where they come into a room and they see people that they either know or don't know, but they recognize that they have a shared experience. And they have a shared life story. And so they can talk about, in a baseball room, they can talk about throwing fastballs and hitting a cutter. Or in the football room, they can talk about, whatever the greatest defensive strategy is today, or how offenses are attacking that. But then that quickly gives way to, hey, how are your kids doing? How things going at home? You've been walking with Jesus lately. How's that going?
Yeah.
And that just is like, we talk about locker room context. And when a pro leaves the game, very few of them say, man, I miss all the lights and the stadium experience. Most of them will say, the thing I miss the most is when I got to hang out in the locker room with the guys, and the conversations that we had when we were sitting in our locker room getting ready to go compete.
Yeah.
And those were the best.
Yeah, there's something powerful about that, no matter what it is. Like when you're in peers, you're in battle, you're on mission like that together. Just talk about just this moment. I mean, because it really feels like, you can look back in Scripture and you can talk about the gospel and the Roman roads and just how it traveled through that. Like there is a very direct analogy to this, as like sport is that road. But I think there's something that kind of changed over these last 20 years where like sharing your faith became, I don't know what the word is, but it became like a masculine thing. Like it's good to share how you feel. It's good to share your faith. It's good to share what you're going through. It's good to share your struggles. It feels like there was moments like where it was like a Tim Tebow and Adam Wainwright, Pujols, people like that just changed kind of what it looked like, that you can be tough in sport. You can, crush a home run. You can hit somebody in a football field, but you can also be very bold about your faith. What's changed where that's become kind of like a merger of those two things?
Well, I think in terms of sport, I think you're right. We can all look at somebody and go, wow, look at the cool ladder they climbed. I wish I could climb that ladder too and get to the top. And but when somebody's honest and vulnerable about what it's like when you have setbacks, what it's like when you have an injury, what it's like when you don't accomplish what you set out to accomplish, all of a sudden your ears perk up and go, they can relate to me. I can understand them. And I think that's where sometimes when you get to the place like a Tebow or a Wainwright or Benjamin Watson or Matt Forte or some of these incredible leaders, I can go on and on with the list of names,
Yeah.
but they've embraced that within the journey of sport, within the journey of life, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows.
Yeah.
There's going to be things I wish I could write differently. If you'd given me the pen, I would have written it differently. But we become much more relatable at that point. At the same time, I think in the last 20 years, like you've been talking about, media has just changed. Like that's incredible too. I think those stories were still there 20 years ago, but we live in a time, in a window now where direct to audience is real.
Yeah.
I don't need to go through a media company anymore to tell my story, where they can decide which part of my story they want to share. I get to speak in first person narrative. So you are seeing a time when the camera's rolling live, the men and women who know Jesus are prepared, and they're saying, let me tell you first and foremost what's most important. I can also talk to you about the game if you want to, but let me tell you what I really want to talk about.
So one of the things that's fascinating for me is like when you think about anything, there's so many analogies here where it's sports and you can say, man, a good football team has a good ground game. You can run the ball, but you can also throw the deep pass. Like there's the air cover, the ground game, kind of that analogy. And I think that that's very similar to how and what is needed to have a conversation here. You need the locker room, but you also need the fans and that kind of message. Talk about how through Sports Spectrum that you guys have this ability to have the locker room conversation, but also have the broader and how those two work together.
Yeah, no, it's real because you do. When somebody wants to say something, the question is who's going to listen to it. And so we're grateful that 40 years ago, Dr. J, back in the day, a guy I loved watching growing up, was partnered with some ministry leaders to launch a platform to make sure that we keep Jesus in the conversation. So the desire is to see fans of sport become followers of Jesus. And so this global media platform that we're so excited about, and after 40 years, we want to throw a lot more fuel on that fire too, so that it can become whatever God intends for it to become. But it's a global story now. And honestly, in some parts of the world, it's much more risky to speak out. But we want to provide the tools and the resources for the pros that we serve to tell their story. And so we're excited about that.
So to contrast that, so we've had some great time the last couple of days here with your team just talking about, there's parts in the States now that time, that live TV time where you can get a chance to thank God for so much of what's happening in your life or what's happening in the moment. That's not a common thing. If somebody goes up and does that after a Premier League game, it's not going to be met with applause. Like, talk about the headwinds globally that something is still facing in the area of sports.
Yeah, I think it's been eye-opening for me as we've launched into some of the other global sports. I mean, as a ministry, Pro Athletes Outreach, we're going from 4 sports that we currently serve, the big ones here in the U.S., football, baseball, basketball, hockey, to sports like rugby and cricket and track and field and tennis and others like that.
And you got to give the scale. Like, so when you talk about that, for people that don't know the metrics, that aren't listening to it, like, contrast like the people that are watching the World Series that are watching the World Cup.
Oh my gosh, it's staggering, and it's cool to think that in North America we're going to host the World Cup in 2026 and the Olympics in 2028. It's a tremendous opportunity in the sports ministry landscape. But yes, I mean the World Series, whatever the numbers are, that the metrics show is approximately 50 million people tuning in. You had a women's cricket semifinal match that was hosted in India that I think 10x people watched.
10x. Women's cricket semifinal, 10x the World Series.
Yes, where India beat Australia, who had never lost before. And the star of the game for India, where cricket's massive, but we all know the spiritual landscape of India. She knew Jesus. She knows Jesus. And she grew up in a household learning about faith, and she took her moment and proclaimed Christ after that game first and foremost. look, we don't know. Like, we don't know whether she'll play again. We don't know what the consequences are because we've seen that.
Because there was backlash when that happened.
There was backlash, and there will be ongoing backlash. And if it's like other stories where we've watched athletes say, you know what, I think it's my moment to say, potentially to surrender my career as a result, but Jesus is more important than my career.
It is fascinating when you think about it. Like, there was a time and an era, maybe in the States and other places, where you'd say, oh yeah, I'm a fourth generation Baptist family. And it was like a cultural identity to it. Today, you can go over to anywhere and say, yeah, I'm a fourth generation Manchester United fan. Like there is such depth in sports that shows, like, man, people can be fiercely loyal. They like the lineage. They like the tradition. They like passing things on. Imagine if something else kind of was traveling down that road and it was something more meaningful. And I think we miss that. Like, there's some, like, as much as we're devoted fans here, there's even more devoted fans. Just when you don't think you can get crazier with college football here, like, you can find that in some of those places.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at global soccer or what.
Yeah.
I mean, this is hard as an American football player to say, but the real football in the world, as they like to say, it's massive by comparison. There's about 3,000, 3,500 what you would consider pro-American football players on the planet today. Best estimates we have, there's 540,000 pro soccer players in the world. Pro, not just your average club player or those kind of coming up through the ranks. Pro elite soccer players, 540,000 versus 3,000. That shows you the scale. And then the way it's celebrated and the people that will tune in and watch. It was estimated, I think, 5.5 billion people tuned in to watch the last World Cup final. I mean, that's staggering to think about. So, yes, I love when pastors will stand up in church sometimes and say, hey, don't tell me you don't know how to worship. Or shout or raise your hands or whatever it is, because let me just come watch you at your favorite sporting event. You'll be worshiping full force for the team and the colors that you like to wear. So whether it's Manchester or the New York Giants or the Texas Rangers or whatever team your team is, we're pretty good worshipers. And I think you're seeing the athletes at the center of that arena say, you know what, I love sport too, but not as much as I love Jesus.
You know, there's such intentionality, it feels like, that's happened over the last 10 years where people have said, hey, God controls everything. It's his divine work of what's happening and unfolding in front of us. And yet there's this moment of, like, where are the places where it might be intentional or strategic to invest? And you look at something like sport, like what you've talked about. What I appreciate is like, this is not just a heart feel. You guys went and said, hey, let's go get the data. And let's go get the data to find out across all these other sports, how many people would you say are following Jesus or reached in that? Give us a perspective of that data, what you found, and, like, kind of connect the dots of what's the potential is in something like soccer.
Well, it wasn't overly encouraging to go get the data, I'll tell you that much. You know, but as someone who has studied unreached people groups in the world too, and I'm passionate about the work of ministry partners who are doing that type of front edge. There's new peoples and new languages all over the place who don't know Jesus yet because the gospel hasn't penetrated their culture. It was shocking to see the data come back on sports like cricket or soccer or tennis and to realize, wow, if we were to classify pro sports as a people group, they're less reached than places like Somalia, North Korea, and you know, Afghanistan. You name the places where it's hardest to penetrate. Pro sport is a more ripe mission field at this point in terms of need. But the cool part about that is once the pro athletes are reached, much like business leaders, much like entrepreneurs, we get to go places that pastors and missionaries don't get to go and take the gospel to some of those other unreached parts of the world. So, I mean, let's reach pro athletes, let's reach business leaders, let's reach entrepreneurs with the gospel, and then let God deploy them whenever he's ready to the parts of the world to accomplish what he says is going to be the end of time, which in Matthew 24, and Jesus said, in this gospel of the kingdom, will be proclaimed as a testimony throughout the whole world to all nations, to all peoples, to all ethnos. And I can't wait to see how God's going to use athletes alongside of business leaders, artists, entertainers, entrepreneurs, and the world's going to get turned upside down because they thought they closed the door on some spiritual leaders coming, but God said, "No, I've got a different plan.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do it through this avenue now, today, in our time."
And it feels like something unique that's happening because you are having all those people that you mentioned coming to the same table, saying like, "Hey, what more can we do together?" And also, you're seeing different hats in different seasons, like where the first half of somebody's career, they were the athlete. Now they are the entrepreneur. And so there is this table that's emerging where more and more people are coming together to solve some of these big problems like you're just talking about. Can you just talk about just kind of how you're seeing kind of the end of one career as the beginning of another, right? We say life is a collection of seasons, right? And I think that there's a unique advantage that athletes have because they know every year in their career is different. Different people on the team, maybe you're winning, maybe you're losing. Like there's an ability to see life as seasons differently as an athlete. That's a really unique perspective.
There is, and I think environments like growing, thriving businesses, athletic teams, I mean, you can't do it alone. It's not there's very few individual sports when it comes to collaborative efforts, and even the individual sports that are out there have their own teams around them.
Yeah.
So you learn to work with others. You learn to appreciate the gifts of others and what people are bringing. And none of us have all that we need to do everything we dream about doing. And so I think we're seeing our community is wide open to saying, where can we plug in? We're not going to do this all alone by any stretch, but we want to come alongside others who feel the same way. And I think we're living, my experience in terms of being privileged to lead the PAO community today is I'm finding tons of other leaders that are out there who feel the same way. There's just this open-handedness today that says, gosh, the bigger mission's way more important here.
Yeah.
What can we do? Let's do it together. I'm in. Are you in? Let's go.
Yeah. What's the one of the things that we've talked about together recently is just the importance of reaching people early. And I look at that just even as a dad. I'm just saying, okay, what does it look like for God to get a hold of my kid's heart at a young age? When you think about athletes, baseball players that are stepping up to the plate at 18, 19, 20, like young ages, what's the importance of bringing this framework to somebody so that both they can make maximize the moment that they're in, but also set them up for maybe what comes next and kind of building that platform?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about a little bit earlier, the chapters and the seasons of life, right? I mean, I think if we can set life in the right context and not talk in terms of, okay, hey, you're in your career phase now, and when you're done with your career, like now you're just you're almost saying to them, just, hey, hit the pause button for a little while, and then eventually you'll get to the stuff. Like, no, right now, like let's live for beyond the game, both in a chronological sense and a significance, meaning, purpose sense. Like there's stuff while you're playing the game that's actually beyond the game that God created you for, and He's allowed you to be in the game as part of your narrative and your story that He's been telling, and He actually wrote before you even born, the psalmist tells us. And you're eventually going to step into a new chapter and a new season, but it's not going to be like you just close that one and you never think about it again. It's going to inform everything about you. It's part of your unique life plan and trajectory. And God's calling is going to continue to emerge out of that. And so if we can reach them earlier, if we can say, hey, remember your Creator in the days of your youth, like this, Solomon says in Scripture, well, okay, like that's a way cooler vantage point to have while I'm still playing the game and going forward.
So one of the things that I love about that partnership side that's built out in this is like you guys are kind of like this connecting piece. And like it feels like whether it's through media, whether it's through locker room conversations, there's a recognition in how you guys are doing this. That, man, some faithful chaplain has been planting seeds in some club on the other side of the world. And it's more about like, how do we give breath, give more life, give more oxygen, more fuel to this fire to connect those? Can you just talk about just the way that like you guys see like the connecting of all this happening?
It's interesting. We renamed the Pro Athletes Outreach Conference in 2014. We called it the Increase Conference, based on John 3:30. And interestingly, it's a tremendous verse, right? The decrease of self, John the Baptist saying it's about him, it's not about me. At the time, it was really motivated in some ways by the proliferation of social media for us. Like people were starting to post where they were and what they were doing, and I was like, PAO was trying to fly under the radar. We didn't really want to be known. So, all right, let's give them something else to tag, the Increase Conference. Well, the beautiful, in God's timing, that became the whole ecosystem of what we're doing at PAO, whether it's in the locker room when we gather or in the stadium through Sports Spectrum and our media platforms. The 330 ecosystem has emerged from that, and we've then now found ourselves in a place that says, okay, we've learned a lot. It's not about where PAO can go to. It's about how can the essence of the ecosystem serve the global purposes of God. Well, now that God's opening doors all over the globe for us, it's incredible to say, okay, everybody, hey, let's go be 330 communities. Let's go grow in 330 faith and follow the 330 way. Let's discover what a 330 impact looks like in this life, and let's use our 330 voices in the world. And that then becomes the great unifying opportunity for us to go, it's not, we don't need to have it called PAO. We want to serve God's kingdom purposes. And I often go back to, Erwin McManus wrote a book years ago called Unstoppable Force.
Oh yeah, great book.
Great book.
Yeah.
And it just impacted me the way he described ministries like ours are not organizations in God's eyes, they're organisms, and there's a life cycle to them. And they're meant to grow and thrive and do what they're supposed to do. And then the goal at certain times is not to just keep it on life support and they keep it present.
Yeah.
It eventually will run its course.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying PAO has run its course by any stretch. I hope not.
Yeah.
I love what we do, but as far as what God's done through PAO, it's been far more of an organism than an organization.
There's so many things in this story that I hope entrepreneurs see and they look at something like, man, I love this. I'm a fan. I'm a devoted fan. I'm an all-in fan. Whether it's on Saturdays, Sundays, whatever day of the week, sports is a piece of the puzzle in the conversation. And I think we can look at it as something that's out there. But I think there's so much of this story that we look at and we say, that's similar to the entrepreneur's journey. And I think one of the things that I love about this community so much is the intentionality to say, listen, your mission is not just your mission. Your mission is your family's mission. Your mission is this thing of like, what does it mean for you guys to come together as a family, to come together as a couple and say, how do we really support each other and be on mission together? You've experienced that personally, but that's also become something that every single family you talk to, it feels like is a part of the DNA.
Yeah, so good. Having spent 25 plus years in Silicon Valley, I love entrepreneurs. I love being around them. I'm inspired by them. They're beautiful disruptors of the status quo.
Good words.
And I just think when you're around them, it's contagious what they can talk to you about, and they see things differently. It's even better when they bring people along for the journey. And that's what they're so great at in business. Athletes have a similar DNA if they reach a certain level in sport. A lot of times they actually just bring something new to the table that allows them to thrive, and they can pull people in the same direction. Well, why not pull the people closest to us? Why not, especially as God opens our eyes to things he's doing and something triggers within us. And maybe it's our own thing that we get excited about and we're launching and we're doing, or we're coming alongside of something that's already going on, and we want to bring resources behind that and help. We'll bring the people closest to you, because we talk at PAO about impact and making a kingdom impact on our potential spheres of influence. Well, to your point, the first sphere is the one closest to me.
Yeah.
And then let's start close and work out from there, rather than start out and work in from there.
Yeah.
And so I hope athletes, artists, entertainers, entrepreneurs, leaders of all sorts will, and I like to say, lead from behind and beneath. Like let's stand at the top of the ski slope. Living in Colorado, I love being on the ski slopes, and I'll go with a group. And my job is the sweeper. I'm the guy at the back to make sure everybody gets down.
Every good dad is.
Every
right?
good dad is.
Yeah.
But like, hey, we're gonna meet at the little the cocoa house down there and get some fries and a Snicker bar or whatever it is. But you want to make sure everybody gets there together.
Mm.
So point to where we're going and make sure everybody gets there together, and then have some hot chocolate together and have a blast.
Great way to end it. Hey, so encouraged by the community, what you guys are doing here, what God's doing through it, and it's fun to be a part of this together.
Yeah, this is fun. Thanks.
Well, friends, you know that we always love to leave you with the next step, and there's so many throughout this. I hope that you see some of the parallels of the journey that you're on as an entrepreneur, and you hear these stories, and you see somebody on the screen, and you think, man, I might not have anything in common. Well, you do. And I hope as you see some of these things modeled out, the intentionality of doing this together as a family, about being on mission, about recognizing that you have a season, and that season's not going to last forever. Whether it's an athlete or an entrepreneur, you have this moment. Steward it well. So a couple of things to encourage you and to check out. One, you can share that story that we just showed at the beginning of this episode. You'll find it on the Solving the World's Greatest Problems website when we talk about just one of the opportunities that is there is to come alongside ministries like PAO and Sports Spectrum to say, how do we spotlight what God is doing through athletes and encourage this platform as a strategic way to get the gospel out. The other thing I would encourage you is, as you hear this story and you hear athletes connecting with one another, we always talk about entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey, but it doesn't have to be. So find one of those groups, whether it's online on the website or at your church. Get connected with peers where you can be open and transparent and vulnerable and really step into the place in the moment where God has you right now. It's always great to be with you. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Come for content, stay for community. Join a faith-driven entrepreneur group online or in person. No cost, no catch. Visit faithdrivenentrepreneur.org. That's faithdrivenentrepreneur.org.